While Alexander Hamilton's National Bank is usually considered the first of its type in North America, a precursor was actually established about a decade prior. The Bank of North America, as it was called, was short-lived, but it was a defining institution of the critical period. In this video, I'll explain. In the late 1770s, the Continental Congress authorized the printing of a paper-based currency, the Continental. Unlike traditional money, which was backed by precious metals such as gold and silver, the Continental was backed by nothing at all, making it a fiat currency. Excessive printing of the Continental caused a rapid devaluation of the currency, and the paper became virtually worthless by 1780. Consequently, the phrase "not worth a Continental" was born. By 1781, Pennsylvanian Robert Morris had amassed sizable influence in Congress. He assumed control over the government's Department of Finance, a position he accepted only on the condition that he could both unilaterally hire officials in his own department and dismiss civil officers in any other congressional branch, including the Foreign Affairs and War Departments. He used this authority to help elevate his friends to high positions in the other departments, including New Yorker Robert Livingston as the head of Foreign Affairs. By this point, Morris was widely considered the most powerful figure in the Confederation Congress. In May of 1781, Morris presented a bold plan to Congress, a framework for a centralized commercial bank, the first of its kind on the continent. The institution was inspired by the Bank of England, a nominally private entity with public duties that was established in London at the end of the tumultuous 17th century. Morris hoped that his proposed bank would prevent the United States from lapsing into an era of unregulated specie, and where inflation could be tightly controlled to the benefit of himself and wealthy investors. His primary pitch to the public, however, was that the bank would help stabilize the currency. The Bank of North America, as it was called, would possess several important powers. First, it would receive several trade privileges from the United States government. Namely, it would hold a monopoly on issuing banknotes, which would be receivable as tax payments to both the states and Congress. In return, the bank would lend its inflated notes to the government. Second, a freeze in the banking market was implemented, preventing other banks from operating in the country for a time. Third, the bank's wealthy investors would become the holders of public debt and profit immensely from the issuance of new notes. Ultimately, Morris's plan was adopted by Congress in 1782. Only one state, Massachusetts, voted against the bank after assembling an anti-nationalist coalition. Even though the Articles of Confederation did not permit the charter of such a corporation, most delegates looked the other way in hopes that the bank would help curtail the catastrophe of the Continental and other fiat currencies that circulated in the states. Despite the congressional support, Morris struggled to raise enough money to reach the planned $400,000 in specie capital to support the bank. To compensate, he unilaterally appropriated $254,000 of a specie loan from France directly to the bank without congressional authorization, a duplicitous act of embezzlement that circumvented the Republican legislative process. However, he escaped most castigation due to his stature as the Superintendent of Finance. Throughout its tenure, the Bank of North America loaned $1.2 million to Congress, where Morris also held considerable power. Notwithstanding attempts to curtail inflation, the value of the banknotes depreciated, especially in locations outside of Philadelphia. In the end, citizens sought to pay taxes in the notes rather than in specie, despite Morris's tireless efforts to persuade wealthy redeemers not to do so. By 1783, a lack of market confidence in the notes had caused their rapid devaluation, and the bank was privatized after only a year of operation. Regardless of its short lifespan, the Bank of North America served as the definitive precursor to future central banks that would arise in the decades to come. Its role in the critical period, though often overshadowed, left an unmistakable model for future power-holding nationalists such as Alexander Hamilton to resurrect. In my book, Compact of the Republic, I explained how political debate that emerged during the critical period inspired the creation of a brand new constitutional system. I'll include a link to that below in the notes, and I'll also include links to the best works on the Bank of North America. Thanks for watching this episode of History in a Nutshell. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos.